Hello, and welcome to Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community Check-in. My name is Erica Beverett, and we are here today with a few of our members of PEP that are going to be checking in with us today. We are so excited to have Eric J. Powell Jr., who is an entrepreneur and a children's book writer, and we're going to definitely be hearing what's going on within all the communities across New Jersey. So I'm going to be bringing Miss May in. But while I bring Miss May in, I'm definitely going to share with you who PEP is and what it is that we do. So our mission is to promote civic awareness and proactive community advocacy based on the interest of parents and community. We definitely engage our parents, each other, to identify problems facing our communities and in neighborhoods and cities, and we connect with each other and organizations to multiply our power. So one of the things that we definitely need with PEP is your love for community and the gifts that you have to share. So with that, I'm going to be bringing in Miss May from Bridgeton. Hi, Miss May.
Hi, good evening, Erica. How are you doing tonight?
Great. What's going on in the community of Bridgeton?
So we do have a lot going on there. And, with the pandemic and all of the anxiety and all of the other stuff that goes along with that, there are resources in place to help our families to adjust to what's going on in the world. So we do have a few testing sites and vaccination sites in our community. On this Friday, we will have a vaccination and booster shots available and flu shots available at the Center. I believe it's from 10 until 2 in the afternoon. And the Center is located on 1 Martin Luther King Jr. Way in the city of Bridgeton. So everything is free. All you have to do is just come in. They would like if you would register, but if you don't register, that's fine. You can still walk in and get your free vaccination and or your booster and or flu shot.
Wow, that's a blessing to be able to get everything in one spot, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we're really excited about that. Very excited. And
it is. Yeah, go
ahead. Another resource that we have is Grapefruit, which is an agency or a company that provides testing. And I don't know about you, but in the city of Bridgeton and in Cumberland County, that was one of the resources that were lacking. I guess about a month or so ago, I became ill and I went to go get tested. And I was in line for almost 3.5 hours trying to get tested. And the lines were wrapped around the building. So that was an issue. And that was a problem. Yeah.
Can you imagine being like sick and, I know from what I've heard, how COVID affects you, your body really breaks down and you really have that hard time breathing. So I can't imagine like being out in the cold at this point, because the cold, like that wind, when it hits you, debilitating pretty much, right?
Yes. And there were people just like myself that were in line and they weren't feeling well. So, but we stayed. It had started raining and drizzling a little bit, but I said, I've come this far. I'm not going to leave and go home. I had to know if I had COVID or not. I just had to.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you're well.
Yes, me too. Myself, I'm very thankful. A few of my family members were affected by COVID, but they're all doing better now, thankfully. So we're happy about that. But we're just thankful for those resources that are available. All of the testing sites are in the city of Bridgeton at the Marino Center, Monday through Thursday. From like around 9 in the morning to 7 at night. And then on Sunday, it's from 10 until 7. So those are all the days that, the city of Bridgeton, any other residents there can definitely go to those places for testing.
Oh, great. That's great to know. Thank you for sharing. Also, Parents Engaging Parents has a few community events coming up. We are going to be hosting coat drives with organizations throughout New Jersey, so definitely keep your eyes open for those. We have a snowstorm coming up, so unfortunately, we won't be able to have one this weekend, but we will definitely be doubling back with the community in Essex County to host a coat giveaway with them. So we're super excited for that. And unfortunately, I know those roads are going to be treacherous. So it's just like, they're talking about, I think, about 12 inches or so in some parts of New Jersey. So
yes.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a good call to just stay home, stay warm if you can, bundle up, just
nice homemade soup.
Right?
Yes.
Soup has been my staple. Actually, I think that soup helps me to lose weight. That's what I'm on the road to. Yeah, I am on that road. I got to get healthy again because, COVID pounds are real. And,
yes.
And I've reckoned with that. And so now I got to get busy. So I just definitely want to say thank you to our show sponsors. We have sponsors by the name of Propel. Propel America is an organization that is aiming to be a path for prosperity for high school students and to graduate in America. They are a network of regional organizations that create pathways from education to upwardly mobile work opportunities. Propel Pathways convenes with employers, schools, and training providers in a unified system of skill building, job placement, and ongoing planning for young adults. So they do have what they call cohorts, and they pretty much walk with you throughout your whole journey, educational journey. In learning with that pathway after high school graduation. So that's a fantastic opportunity. If you get a chance, please look up propelamerica.org. That's PROPELAMERICA.org, and check it out and see if that's a route that would be good for you after high school, because sometimes I guess we're all finding out, right, that going to college might not necessarily be right for everybody. So there's different opportunities to go different routes. And I think that's a fantastic opportunity to be able to learn and earn, right, at the same time. So I think that's a great opportunity. So with that, we're going to bring in our guest, Eric Powell, just to give a little bit of background on him. Eric is from Camden County. He is an English author from Camden, New Jersey, and he's best known for his book about a teddy bear named Camden. Camden is actually the official logo of his Heartbeats clothing line. Eric Powell is also an engineer, a clothing designer, a motivational speaker, a music producer, a photographer, illustrator, graphic arts designer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he does a lot. And actually, he's definitely on board with us at Parents Engaging Parents. I had to snatch him up. So we're going to bring you in, Eric.
Yeah.
What's going on, Eric? How you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Eric. Wow.
So I know that I just gave a mouthful of all the things that you do, but yet we're so excited to hear from you, and tell us a little bit about you yourself.
The introduction is pretty much a basis of all the, I would probably say, hobbies that became something a little bit more as the passion grew within them. But the first thing I would always kind of revert to is just like I'm a kid still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But within that, I'm a father and a friend. So all the other stuff falls underneath the umbrella within that. But just a dad and a good friend to a lot of good people, and vice versa. So I'm very blessed and fortunate to, even be able to say that. But all the other stuff is just me trying to figure out what I want to do. But it's all working, and it's all cohesive to just me continuing within the mission that I try to promote within those things. And it was just following your dreams, whatever they may be, or following your heart. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
I know that a lot of people have been taking that entrepreneurial route, during COVID, right? So tell us about, after being in the service, what drew you to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I mean, after the service, which is one of the more important parts of my life, is my 12 years in with the United States Air Force. But I always felt a longing after traveling pretty much probably everywhere on earth. It was just a longing to get back home. I didn't quite know what it was, but I knew I had another mission to pursue within my hometown. It pretty much cultivated and molded me to the person that I am. And I knew I wanted to get back with my with my boys. So once I got back to Jersey, it was more of a spirit of things that I've learned while I was from meeting different people from all over the United States, all over different countries. I wanted to take whatever I did learn and whatever I did grasp, all the values and the values and community, and just kind of implement myself in my own community and try to share whatever that I learned. And all I had at that point in time was just, I knew I wanted to do something for my surrounding community, and I started with doing something for myself, and that was just kind of pursuing everything that I had within me that I wanted to get out. Within that, it allowed me to reach a bunch of people within my hometown throughout the little different things that I was doing. So a lot of the different avenues, as far as like with the description, from photography, graphic design, music production, it all stemmed from, it's kind of stubborn, but it's all stemmed from, I'll figure out how to do it myself. So it wasn't so much reluctant to find help, but I didn't want to let the pursuit of help stop me from pursuing whatever it is I wanted to do. Now, it may be a little bit stubborn, but it offered a great learning experience to maneuver through these things. And within that, it was a point in time to where every organization that I got involved with and the friends is kind of, we'll figure this out. We'll figure it out, whatever it may be. And that turned into these different opportunities that made things become hobbies and or side professions. So, so make a long story, not hopefully longer, but shorter, is when I got back home, I just wanted to find out what that mission was that I had to do. And I think I'm still figuring that out, but it's going pretty well now. And it's just kind of, and I believe it's just starting with myself, figuring out what I really want to do and kind of making that, making it contagious. It's, making it, that's the best way I can say it, make it contagious. That spirit of not so much entrepreneurship, but never being bounded or binded by what your resources may be or may not be. It's, with YouTube, I call it YouTube University. You can literally figure out anything and everything that you want to do. It's just the only thing that separates us is that drive. So hopefully through my story, and through not so much my story, but my actions, that can be, once again, contagious towards the people around me.
So, Eric, was there someone in your life that influenced you to take this journey that you've started and that you're on?
Yes, absolutely. It was Spider-Man. No, I'm just joking. It was without any shadow of a doubt, it was my mother. By far. Yeah. Words really can't explain it. The things I've seen her accomplish and do without breaking a visual sweat. She always tells me that you do not know how hard I worked to raise you and your little sister within this city, and to make sure we never felt anything to make it look like. She always says, like, you've been. I can never stand up in front of someone and give this struggle story about how hard it was growing up, because she never let us feel a thing. So. It's really no words to really explain it, but anybody that knows my mom would know exactly what I'm talking about. So a lot of the things that I do and a lot of things that I have accomplished, it comes to no surprise to anyone that knows me or my family. So
awesome. Great. I like that answer. Moms are just really inspirational in our lives. So I can see, and she did an excellent job.
Thank you. She's still got some recipes that I need to learn from her, but I think she wants to keep them. But Oh, I'm catching. I'm catching up. Oh, there were many other people, but it would just
Mhm.
to mention them alongside her name would be unfair. I feel,
Mhm.
so it's just the stratosphere of what I witnessed and seen. Even now, I'm 38 years old, and I'm not afraid to pick up the phone at any moment in time and just be like, and before I can say a word, she would like just have some patience. That was always her.
Mhm.
Work hard and have patience. And it's not about waiting; it's how you wait. So it's not about just I'm going to wait for this to work out. It's like, well, what are you doing while you're waiting? So
Mm.
meeting everything
Mhm.
halfway, bare minimum, meeting it halfway. But yeah, there. Like I said, just to reiterate on the answer to your question, but without a shadow of a doubt, is my mother.
Awesome.
That's right. Shout out to all the mamas.
Yes.
So, how long ago did you launch the My Heartbeats clothing line?
My heartbeats. Man. This was actually in 2013. One of the things you mentioned was my journey into music production. So, this
Mm.
instrumentals. I was really into it. At the time, I was entering a lot of contests and music production battles and whatnot. And my manager at the time was just mentioning like, "Hey, you should sell some merchandise." I'm like, "Yeah, oh, how or whatever." Like, I don't know,
Mhm.
but what happened, a lot of family and friends, they wanted to support, but they weren't necessarily into the music scene or hip hop music. But my name within that community was Jersey Rick Productions, and part of it, my logo was a heart. So in my genius thinking, I just took that heart and put it on a t-shirt, and that was it. And it became more of a thing when I was ever asked about it. It was like, what's the explanation behind the heart? And I'm like, well, it's my drive. It's what makes my heart beat. And I was like, okay, bingo, that sounds pretty good. So that
Mhm.
became my heart beats clothing. And it's basically, what makes you function. Now, I have a saying that I learned a while ago. Not to get off topic, but I had a saying that we always go with saying like life's a journey. And I never really subscribed to that, because with a journey, there comes a destination. With the destination is trying to make it there on time. And we have these stigmas of you go to school, get good grades, get a good job, go to college, have a family. And it's just all these steps. And I'm like, all right, a
Mhm.
journey, if life is just about getting to one point to the other, I don't think that's much fun. So what I started saying is life's a dance. If you take the literal definition of dancing, is you're having the most possible fun, and you don't care who's watching. There's other people around, and you're just moving. You're
Mhm.
moving to a beat, and it's the beat is I always say is there's always music playing with your heartbeat. So it's your purpose, it's your drive, it's your rhythm. It's fun. It's not to be some long journey where we're taking these steps that's judged by society's standard of what success is, but once we're done, what do we feel afterwards? I know what I feel after dancing, even though I have two left feet. It's all about just having fun, and another way of saying living in the moment. So yeah, that all goes with my heartbeats. And once again, to make a long story not so long, but it started in 2013 with just that heart on a t-shirt, and it kind of progressively evolved to just little motivational sayings, and then what came was the bear as a logo. If you ever see the mascot, the logo, it's a bear. He's kind of beat up, but in every picture, you see his head still raising high. So that's just another metaphor in a sense of saying, no, we all have scars, but those scars turn to beauty marks no matter where we're going. Just keep your head up and keep going. And like I said, just keep dancing.
Okay. Awesome. So you chose the bear.
Yes.
Why did you, what was the drive behind the bear? I know you just talked about the
Right.
dance and keeping your head up, but why not a bird or a, I don't know, a dog?
So this story is a little bit more simpler. So with
Mhm.
me and my four boys, my oldest son Jaden, we would always read bedtime stories, and he went to build a bear, and we got a bear, and
Mhm.
that was it. So it was like he would always sleep with the bear, and I'm like, all right, well, I need a
Mhm.
mascot. And by this time, the bear that he did have that he used to always sleep with, years passed, and it started looking pretty rugged to where it actually started smelling a bit, had a couple tears and all
Mm.
that.
Mhm.
So that became kind of like that was it. Just looking at it one day, I'm like, oh well, I guess that could be the mascot. And I had a family member, my cousin Pierre Johnson. I gave him the idea, like, yo, I just want a picture of a beat up bear, but not too beat up where it'd be scary, but
Mhm.
enough to where it still looks good, but still shows the marks,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, of the marks of perseverance, I should say.
Love that.
Wow. Wow, that was great. That's awesome.
Love that. And ooh, Build a Bear. Ooh, I'm
We're
glad
right,
those years
yeah.
are
So,
over.
Mhm.
I'm so glad those years are over,
oh
man. I can't
man,
wait
yeah.
for the
I'm
next
like, yeah,
year.
you're not throwing that bear away.
I don't even want to talk about how much money I spent. I really want my money back.
Right.
But that was a great concept, though. It was just your own personal spin on what you
Mm.
felt that bear should be, and
Mhm.
and kudos to your son for you know
I don't want to say it too
loving
loud.
on that bear.
He's a teenager now,
He
so
didn't put it in a box and just
yeah.
leave it like that. He actually used the bear. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Hmm. So, tell me who you contacted to pitch the idea. I know like a lot of times like it's hard to get into the business or like
Uh,
even the funding
mhm.
aspect of it. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to do this," but then
Mhm.
we need funding, right? So,
Right.
how were you able to pitch the idea or get the backing for to write the book?
Oh, so as far as with the book started basically as bedtime stories that we would just go back and forth and make it up, and to the
Mm,
point to where it was like, well, let's just write this down. Let's just keep the concept going. Let's go from t-shirts to mascot. Let's go from mascot to purpose. Let's go from purpose to stories that can be read. So um to even pitch the idea once again, like a lot of things that it gets read off in the biography about what I do per se became out of necessary stubbornness. With I'll figure this out myself. I'll figure it out.
mhm,
So I literally wrote the story in a very, very terrible format on pieces of paper in my phone. And then I just Googled. I'm like, how can I get a book published? I went from
mhm,
there to looking at some of the prices and what it would be to, I'm like, all right, this is not something that's feasible at the time, but I just kept researching. And then
Mhm.
as the research continued, I think certain things gets thrown in our way to seem like they're bigger than what they are. But everything is
mhm,
really simple once enough research is done. So it wound up leading me to Amazon, and Amazon gave me a format to where it's like, hey, this is what you need. This is the format it has to be. And I submitted this book for probably about 4 months, to the point to where it was multiple times where I'm like, you know what, forget it. It's a great idea, but like I'll figure it out later down the line. But I really, really, especially the first book, I really, really wanted to get the story out, because if the book, if you read it, it definitely sounds like a children's book, but it's really low key biography. The Cameron and the Lightning Bug. The Lightning Bug represents a light, and then if
mm,
once the book is read, you see him go through all these obstacles where he's tripping over toys, he's yelling that he almost catches the lightning bug, and that's kind of a metaphor of announcing your next move before you do it. So, or you're so focused on the prize that you're tripping over stuff that you're not keeping your eye on everything. So it's kind of metaphorically speaking throughout the whole entire book, and it's like the basic story of what I went through to keep trying to pursue these different things. So
mhm,
the funding, it wasn't much. It just took a lot of time and effort. So it wasn't so much a financial thing, but how can I get these pictures right? Once again, reaching out to my cousin. He's an illustrator and a well-known tattoo artist in North Carolina. He helps tremendously with the illustrations and just capturing the vision. And because we went back and forth, like, I don't want it to look too professional. I don't want it to look too bad. I don't want it to look too cartoony. But once we got
mhm,
to a point, we both collaborated and we got it to where it needed to be, where it was relatable. It looked like it looked like a dad of four wrote it, or it looked like illustrations that I could have done. It wasn't too complicated. It looked organic, and
mhm,
I think that's the feel of it that I wanted to keep. So I did have a Kickstarter because I did not know what the financial cost was going to be, and it was just kind of like, hey, I don't know what I'm getting into, but I'm asking for support, and friends, family, military buddies. I didn't even know how to use Kickstarter at one point, but I remember logging back on, and it was close to about $800 in there. And I'm looking, and it was very emotional, to where even in the first book, you look at the back page, everyone's name that donated, I had to put them in there. They didn't even know that they were going to get put in the book.
mm,
I wanted them to be
Mhm.
on that journey for the rest of my life. It's as long as that book exists, their name will be there as a small token of appreciation is that I think I did well enough, because not only did they donate, but it was just they believed in this guy in his mid-30s that he's going to write a children's book, and to a point to where I wanted to stop. Hey, when's the book? When the book coming out? I'm like, yeah, I'm not an author. I'm not an illustrator. I'm just once again a guy that's still trying to figure out what he wants to be when he grows up. But as the wind blows, if that interests me, hey, I'm gonna give it a shot. So even that goes into what I don't want to say instill in my boys, but I never hit them with the question, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I saw a quote before, I can't remember what, but the only answer I want to hear from them is I want to be happy when I grow up. So whatever that leads to, they got a crazy dad behind them that will follow through with any idea, that they have. I'll be their ultimate supporter as a father because I have strangers that supported me, with all these different things. So it's motivation, it's drive, it's ambition. It's all there. And as I get older, I get younger because these things just don't stop. I have a third book coming out and got a couple other crazy ideas, and hopefully they manifest so I won't sound as crazy when they do happen.
No, I love that you that you're so fluent in not fluid, I think fluid in your approach to what you want to do when you grow up, right? Because we're still all to figure it out. Some things interest us, some things that interest us in our 20s are not going to interest us in our 40s or 30s or 60s. So, we really do need to take an approach like that as human beings, right? We don't have to be locked into one thing for the rest of our lives.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We're allowed to move forward or be still or,
just keep dancing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that approach that you're taking with your boys also. So tell us about Kickstart, because I had no idea about Kickstart. Tell us a little bit more about Kickstart and what they do.
All right, so with Kickstarter, it's just and I'm actually looking into it now again with another one of these ideas, but it's you go, it's been years, but great concept. You log on, you pitch your idea. It's kind of like the internet version of Shark Tank. So you explain your idea to the fullest. You do write-ups. You control all the content on there, and then you set a goal to what, say I want to make. I don't know, electric toothbrushes, but you put the idea up there and
Right.
you explain what it is, and then you share it, and then people, hey, I believe in you. Here's $10, here's $5. And what happens once you reach that goal to whatever you set, then they release the funds, but it has to be within a time frame. And you have a way, just like social media, you update the status of where you're at with it, how far along you came, any new updates, and there's a way to update your audience on where you are with where you're going. So like I said, that was a very integral role within that first book. I believe I set it to like $800. I'm like, I don't know how much it's going to cost to print or all this, but the publishing process is very, very, very simple at this point in time. But I wound up, like I said, I wind up reaching the goal. I gained, I won't say fans, but very much supporters, because while you're pursuing whatever it is you're pursuing to get funding for, they're watching you and they're hoping, they're rooting, and you can offer, whoever donated, they got a free book, they got a T-shirt, they got their name in the book. It's just kind of things like that. So it's a journey that's presented that allows people to go to it together.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, there it gives a spot to pretty much pitch your ideas, like you said, and there's even like there's so many different avenues that you'll take. It's not only publishing, but it's always like through creativity or comic books, or it's film. So all those aspiring filmmakers, I mean, go there, check it out. It's Kickstart dot. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Kickstart.
Let's say where it is.
.com.
.com.
Yes. Thank you, Miss
Yeah.
May. It is kickstart.com. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure it
Mhm.
wasn't a .org. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we gotta check that out if you're looking to do any work on the side and or make that your main thing. It could be something that becomes lucrative or just fulfilling,
Mhm.
right? At this
Mhm.
point, fulfilling. So tell us what else that you are doing, Eric, in your spare
Very
time.
tough. um,
That graphic artist piece.
all right.
Tell us about that.
The graphic artist thing. Once again, it was. I couldn't find anyone to do it. So like the things that I was trying to do as far as like logos and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
mm, I doodled around a bit, but then I just wind up starting to do it for myself. So everything from every logo that I've created for myself, it wind up going on to, hey, can you help me out with this? Or if I was amongst an idea among friends that they were stuck at, like I can do it, but then I would have to go back and figure out how to do it to, validate what I was doing. But it was like I said, there's always a learning process together. That graphic artist led into like the latest venture, not venture, but what I'm doing now with like the wood engravings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like it coincides with like the laser engraving and the 3D modeling, and that just a path that was led alongside the clothing line. That the clothing line led to the mascot. The mascot led to the book. So if I'm looking at a trajectory or a lineage of where I should go next, I'm like, well, I need some accessories. So I would love to just follow like a pattern of like, I hate to sound typical, but I wanted to follow a pattern of like the Disney organization. So, you start with the Mickey Mouse and then you end up with
Mhm.
Disney World. So at this
Mm-hmm.
point now, I'm just taking these little steps to progress what I believed in so much within the character and the book and the purpose behind it that now is just kind of creating accessories and different things that gives people an opportunity to support the clothing line and the book in different ways other than just reading and wearing. Obviously, it's dedicated more towards children. So there, since then, there's been book bags. What else? Notebook, pencils. So now, like I said, I'm moving into like the action figures, or just. I wish I had one, but I think my son ran off with it for some reason. But I'll find him. But yeah, it's just little pieces now, and it goes in with the laser engraving. I'm just trying to progress what I have now into the next level, alongside using these different resources to help support others that's going through the same journey, that which led into something I'm working on now called My Heartbeats University, which is like the concept now is everything that I know how to do. I want to be able to have something set in place to where I can show people how to do it. Obviously I start with my son,
Mhm.
so they know how to do the 3D printing, they know how to do the t-shirt making. Even on the second book, they're listed as authors on it because I made sure that they each wrote a sentence or something in it to where, hey,
Mhm.
you can go, it's Valentine's Day coming up, so my second grader can go to the pretty girl in class and be like, hey, I'm an author. So, but it's like, no, I just wanted to get their minds open into things that allows them to say, like, it doesn't seem so far fetched. They can go log on
Mhm.
to Amazon and see their name. They can see some of the
Mm-hmm.
wood pieces that I created that I had their input on, and on the back I have their signatures on it. So these may seem like little things to them, or may not be completely understood by them. I'm like, hey, this is part of your creation. It may not seem like much now, but
Mhm.
you created this. So these things, when he turns 15, 14, 15, I got 4 boys, so I don't forget the ages, but I know as they progressively get older, they'll have that nothing seems so far fetched. They've already did a children's book. They've already created clothing that they wear to school. They've done 3D figures. They've done wood engraving. All these little abstract things. Like I always want them to be,
Mm-hmm.
just something. But I know like the things that
Mhm.
just seem so out of reach or out of touch to I don't want to say general public or just general things that no, let's knock down that wall so nothing seems impossible. And you got your crazy
Mhm.
dad to as a figure to understand that because it's anytime I love like school projects. I'm like, yeah, let's take this to the next level. So they want to like a
Mhm.
cardboard cutout, but I'm like, all right, we're going to build a train set or something that and usually it's something very simple. But I'm like, let's just take it to the next level just because we can. And so as we keep doing
Mhm.
that, the things that's normal to them may seem a little abnormal to others, but it'll become our normal. So I think it's important to where we can say you can be anything you want to be, but like let's do anything that we want to do at this point in time instead of making an aspiration, make it a completion.
I like that. I like that a lot because I know that everything was always like a dream, right?
Yeah.
Everything is always built up in a dream, and
Yeah,
it's
these
like,
big
okay,
dreams. I'm like, we're like,
why just a dream?
yeah. I tell them that too. I'm like, yeah, it's so great to have these dreams, but nothing's better than being awake. So we can dream, but let's be awake. Don't dream, be alive, and let's do it. So
Yeah,
those dreams will be memories, or they'll be goals in that sense. So.
yeah, that's that action piece. So I know that you have became a part of PEP, Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community Network. So what are some of the love and the gifts that you'll be sharing in this community? And
It's you said even the way it came about, as you know, Eric, it was you mentioned that we've been Facebook friends for a while, so you've seen a lot of the silliness, and most recently the kind of sadness of some recent events. But it was an opportunity to prove it was an opportunity to prove the faith that I preach about. So the holidays became pretty rough with my house was just uh, uh, steamrolled with COVID from my children. Then me finally to where it was the worst case scenario. So it's like at one point I had a 35% survival rate, and I'm just like, and then after getting out the hospital, then it was like a roll of events that just started happening, and you claim to yourself like, oh, but why? It was a why me moment. Like, man, I'm a good person. Why me? Why me? Why me? But it was like I didn't look at it as a why me. It became more of a opportunity to learn and an opportunity to say why me and to try me. Like, I'm built for this. Let's go. So everything worked out. I would say everything worked out, and through with social media, we always tend to show we tend to show the highlight reel of everything. Everything is just the best of the best, and I try to be this. I try because it's a thing you have to work at to be extremely positive as much as possible. But that in itself, like, really, man, you happy all the time. Everything is just great. Everything is great. And even that story during the month of November, I could have shared I made it through. I made it through. Everything is just good. But I thought it was the perfect opportunity for a chance to be ridiculously and completely transparent about how I felt in moments of hopelessness and in moments of I just didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do at times, to where if I did fail at whatever failure may be, I think people would have understood, like, man, that was a lot on your plate, But that excuse, the situation made it comfortable to fail, to where people would understood why, like, oh man, I get it. He went through a really rough time, but it's like, no, like, no. So, like I said, perseverance kicked in, faith kicked in heavily. It was an opportunity to prove my faith, and it was an opportunity to gain different types of friendships. And through that transparency, it was another opportunity to have this communication with many people that just came in my inbox and were like, yo, I can't believe, you would never known. And why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell me? Why I could have helped? I would have helped. And in addition, it was like, you don't know how much that story helped me. I got more of that more than anything. And it was very overly emotional to the point where everyone was reaching out. And I didn't even know. It was just an opportunity to be like, yo, let me stop. You think you can affect more people by just always having this positive attitude and just exuberating your light and all that. But we get that. But the more relatable thing is we all go through these things. And sometimes we go through them as a choice alone because we want to appear and to remain strong. And we just want this image of we can do it. Yeah, we all can do it, but we all are human and we all have hard times. And with the better story is not just remaining positive, it's showing the peaks and valley of how you remain to get back there. Or how do you feel when you feel like things are slipping, and you want to say, which is a term that gets me, like, I'll just leave it all in God's hands, and I'm like, do you want to just leave it there, or do you want to, in whatever sense of faith that you may have, I would think whoever you're leaving it in their hands, they want to see that you're willing to put in a little work so they can help out too. So it's like meet it halfway, so when along with prayer becomes work, so at that moment I learned to have patience, but I learned once again, it wasn't me waiting and me having patience. It was, what was I doing while I was waiting? Was I, or every chance that there was an opportunity to speak to someone, every opportunity was a chance to display more transparency, or every opportunity there was to work, I took it. And it was one of the hardest things that I ever did in my life. And this is coming from someone that I've been deployed. I've been with pennies to my name. I've been through a divorce. I'm raising 4 boys of my own. All that was a cakewalk compared to what it was to face myself in the mirror and say, it's all right to be vulnerable. It's all right to be transparent. It's all right to ask for help. And that's maybe a conversation. And November to December brought me to that point, and it led me into conversation with Erica, and it led me to meet Therese and the great folks at PP, and just seeing what they're doing. We all have our own lives, and these missions that's going on, aside from us doing our own thing, it was something that I was completely drawn to, because it reinforces, especially with parents, that none of us are alone. We're all a character in our own books that's probably on the same shelf somewhere in the same library. We just got different book covers, but we're all in this together. And it's even a title, Parents Engaging Parents. So let's remove the outside resources and just like me talking to you. I know what you're going through, and we're going to get through it together. So that's what drew me to it more, and that's what draws me to anything involving that, just to know that transparency is key. We all need some type of help, and we all need support. And not to be on the repetitive thing, but I think is a quote by Harriet Tubman that's been sticking with me for the past few years. Is like, alone you go faster, but together you go farther. So that thing is so much of that I've taken in, and I'm learning how to utilize what I know how to do, who I know, the transparency, and just the community vibe to, like I said, once again, to all just remind people to keep dancing, and we'll just party together. But it'll be a moment to where no one will ever go feeling alone, So.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, because that's something that we definitely need to hear, that we're not alone in this.
No.
That was so definitely well said. That a lot of times we feel that we have to endure these things by ourselves. And I love that you poured yourself into your art, right, and your crafts, that you were able to. And it was a Christmas morning that I think I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like, I think it was like Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, and you said something, and you said, let your work match your faith. And I just thought, like, that just like it stuck with me. And I was like, wow, like I need that, like, writing, and I need to see it, and I need to touch it, and I need to feel it. And I know that you began doing these engravings, and I actually had one made. So I said I was gonna feature it, but this is some of the work that Eric has done, and he's been doing pictures and portraits and ornaments and like galore. I know that you're I'm like, how do you find the time?
Yeah,
it was a lot of sleepless nights. So it was like I can lay here and be in my head about trying to figure out every different scenario of how things were going to. And that was just kind of like to go back into saying, like, I'm going to just leave it all in God's hands. I'm going to lay down. I'm going to get some rest. But my mind was just rolling. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think, I should leave anything in someone's hands without showing them. That's like me giving, like, someone asking me, hey, can I borrow $20 when I got a bunch of snow in my driveway? Like, yeah, you can. Yeah, it's a way that you can definitely have the $20, but you want to help me out a little bit here?
Yeah.
Well, not so much snow in my driveway, but like, hey, I got to go to the ATM to go get the $20, and my driveway is snow, and you're stepping over a shovel to ask me for $20, and I say, yeah, you want to help out a little bit here? So that's the way I see it. But with the time, it's one of those sayings like idle mind is a playground for an entity. So like if I'm up, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna get any sleep anyway, so let me just go knock some of this work out. And the more that and that was a strange thing too, because the more ornaments and things that I did, the more people saw it. And then I started getting requests for pieces that were a little bit heavy to me, to where it was, hey, these are holidays. Can you make a piece for my aunt that passed or my son that passed? There was one of them. I never told her this, but I'm making it. I'm engraving the ornament, and I recognize the face. And it was a tragedy within the city that involved a young man. And I'm looking, and she came to pick it up, and she saw it and broke down in tears. And she's like, "Thank you for doing this so much for my son." She took it away. I went and like it just was stuck in my head, and then I realized who it was, who the kid was, and I'm like, complete breakdown. I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. You know what I mean? And it was just like the I needed a couple tissues that day because I just didn't understand. And it was one more story that I have to tell. I always mean to tell this one. When I was in there, I'll make it really fast. When I was in there for the COVID, I wound up having to call 911 for myself to get to the ambulance, get in the ambulance, get to the hospital, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm like, I can't breathe. I need to lay down. So I lay face first on this, not the safest thing to do on COVID, but I lay face first on a hospital bench, just my face on it, because I'm so tired and I can't breathe. And this old lady, she was looking at me. She had an oxygen tank. We're sitting in Jefferson waiting room, emergency room, and she's looking at me, and I'm trying like, all right, you're awkwardly looking at me, but I can't turn away. She takes her oxygen mask off, and she says, "Son, you really need some help, don't you?" And I couldn't even say anything back. I'm just like, yes, yes. So she gets up with our oxygen tank. She walks over to the receptionist and say, "Hey, this guy needs help." The RN comes out. He comes. I can't give him any oxygen, so he runs to get the doctor. The doctor checks me. My oxygen levels are like 73. So he rushed me back there. They give me the emergency. They get me up to the room. 3 or 4 days later, I'm talking to the doctor. It got really bad, I should say. Like I said, the survival rate was pretty low. I'm talking to the doctor at the time, and he's like, "It's been pretty rough. You're in the wing where we kind of let people relax because we know things are about to happen." And I was like, "Yeah, man." And this is while I'm getting better. I talked to him, and he was like, "Yeah, we lost a bunch of patients today, and you may know one." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I don't know anybody in the hospital." The old lady that helped me in the waiting room, she wound up passing 2 days later. So I was like, okay, so this is just to even try to process that was just so much weight. I didn't even have enough energy to process what it was. You see how, which brings me to like the health workers. COVID has been a thing for years now, and I think the attention has been taken off of the healthcare professionals and all that, to where they're still daily going through this struggle that was there from the beginning. But I don't think enough attention of, let's praise our health workers. They're in there fighting hard for us and all that. And looking at them when I was there, like, you guys haven't had a break. This is me having a stint in the hospital, but you guys deal with this every single day of losing people and these stories and all this. And I'm like, when I got wheelchaired out of the hospital, I just kind of like, I got outside and I'm just looking at like outside. I'm like, okay, it's time to get to work, whatever that may be. So that spawned that whole holiday season. And then even learning, I do remember her name. I'll choose not to say now in case she was related to anyone, but just knowing that someone was there, saw this 6'4", 220 male, said, "Hey, you look like you need some help." And she got up with a cane and oxygen tank to go try to get me some help. And 2 days later, so, I don't know how much faith people have, but mine has been pretty strong and pretty high, to where I've gotten a statement said to me like, "Hey man, this whole faith and everything it's pretty weird how strong you're going for it." And I'm like, yeah, it's probably gonna get weirder because it's something that's very renewed and that was very necessary. So and right along that line, gratefully speaking, so PEP came right into play with that. So now I have the opportunity to continue on helping and working as well. So
I have a question, Eric. Your book, Camden Bear, is that therapeutic? Is that a therapeutic book? I don't know what it's about. Is that therapeutic for children?
Yes, the first one and the second one as well. I tried as hard as I could to hide the hidden meaning behind it. With the first one was, is Camden and the lightning bug. The lightning bug represents metaphorically the dream, the light. Follow your light. I always speak about light. Follow it. It's gonna be obstacles every single day. It's gonna be so many more. It's gonna be so many comfortable chances for you to stop. From within the book, the bear is tripping. He can't see the lightning bug because he's shining a flashlight on it. He tries to grab it one time, but he yells, "I got you," and it flies away. So it's just, hey, not announcing your moves before you make them. Keep an eye on the prize, but keep an eye on the obstacles at the same time. So it's just all these things that goes into telling that story alongside whatever that dream, that goal may be. It's like, you just gotta watch out. Not nothing attacks, but just remain focused is what Camden and the Lightning Bug was about. Good Night Camden was about it was anxiety. It was about being in our own head. It was the age-old story that I deal with a lot of. Something under my bed. There's something in my closet. There's facing your fears to where I don't want to give. It's not like it's a motion picture, but part of it was there's something under my bed, and the thought of it something being there. The Camden shines a flashlight under his bed, and it hits a pile of clothes. But when that flashlight shows a shadow on the wall, it looks like it's a monster. But I'm like, so when you take a step back and look, it really was. You created this problem when it wasn't one. So that's what, as adults, that's what we do all the time. We we make something bigger than what it really is. It's a stinky pile of clothes that you thought was a monster. That's going to be a monster when I come in and say, hey, why don't you put your laundry away? But it's all about that. It's all about reducing the problems that we create in our head to making of things that you're able to handle. From what's in my closet. There's something in my closet. Well, go take a look to see what it is. And then by the end of the book, Camden realizes he has instilled this confidence in himself to reduce the obstacles into something that's able to handle. Now it sounds like a lot, but that was the hard part of the story. Is like, oh, well, how can I relate these things to something that it can be a reference lesson for the kids. Like, you see, hey, remember
it's a reference lesson for an adult.
So that's where the challenge is of that. So a lot of times when I'm talking to my children, or I tell a couple of my friends, when I'm giving advice, I'm really talking to myself. But I find out that the things I'm convincing myself is something that somebody else may need to hear. And by that time, they don't know, by me just talking, I gave myself the same advice. So it's always a two-way street. That's why it's become so therapeutic, as you said, to just even have those conversations. It's been times lately through all this transparency, I've gotten friends from old military friends, old friends from 10, 15 years ago. It shouldn't be called strange, but the Facebook call where I'll get like a video phone call on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm not picking that up. It's 11:30 at night. It's 12:30. It's 2 in the morning, but the time zones are so different. But something is telling me, yo, pick up. Well, why not? And I've been picking up a lot, and it's been like, hey, what's up? Hey, man, I saw what you were going through, man. You won't believe what I'm going through. And sometimes I don't have the advice, but what I do have is the ear. I'll just sit there and listen. And then, like the same thing I said for myself, I'll talk myself into a resolution or an answer. And sometimes, like, I'm not a licensed therapist, but the friends that I have talked to, they wind up talking through it to where I'm like, yeah, I think we both found a solution, because I'm going through something similar and you calling me to get advice, and I just got advice from you. So it's just, I think that communication, and like we said, just knowing that you're not alone at all. People really need to realize that especially during these times, we have to know, because now we're legally and forcefully separated. Stay 6 feet away. I can't even see your smile anymore because you have a mask on. Don't touch each other. There's so many things that's ripping the human, the interaction out of it, which is very important. We're so, even with social media, we're so close together, but we're so far away now. So it's just reinstilling the basic, picking up the phone, a conversation, or just an ear. You may not have the advice, but you have the ear, and that may be more important. Some people don't want advice; they just want to be heard. And when you're not being heard, or you don't have anyone to talk to, that's when your mind starts playing around with you. So therapeutic, yes, it has been. It has been. So.
Yeah, I know that for our communities too, that a lot of times we don't rely on each other, or we feel that I think we've been coming into that fruition that we know that we need each other, right?
Right.
And and I know in the past a lot of families are used to that, keep it in the family, or keep it to yourself, or deal with it on yourself, or you're not strong enough if you can't deal with it on your own. And I think that it's so great that you are able to lend your time and your ear to your community, because that's your community. Like, you gotta think of it that way. That's your community. That's your family. Like,
it's a learning process.
Whether it's Facebook or it's your best friend, right? It's still community. It's still your friend. Whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, it's still somebody that's reaching out for that ear. And I'm so glad to hear that you're being transparent yourself, because especially for Black men and Black families, that we shut down. And
I am the number one. It was, whatever, I'll say it. It's like, you're successful, you're being a good dad, you're a single father, you're raising those boys, and I'm like, yeah, it's tough. But you want to. It was going to be a status at some point. I wanted to say, like, I got one cousin. She's like, yeah, cuz you're Superman, And I said to her one time, and I'm like, I didn't realize how powerful it was. I was like, yeah, I use this cape to fly, and I use it to wipe my tears when I cry. So it's okay being Superman, but it's like, at the end of it, it's still man. And then, like you said, because it's my experience. So as a Black man, it's you know what's been going on in this world. So it's like anxiety is on top of just all these things. And then I have four boys, all different ages. I'm dad, but I have to be dad to you. I have to be dad to you, and you, and you. It's four different ages. And then it's just after that, like you said, when I have time, then I just lay in bed like, okay, let me just collect today. Let me just see what today was. And it's I have friends now. Me and my friends, we've been talking a lot. Like, yo, today was rough, man. But on social media, it looks amazing. I'm always dancing with the kids. I'm like, but like I said, it's that cape is the fly, and it's wipe your tears when you cry, because you hold that in, you will literally burst inside. That bomb that you sweep it under the rug, you're going to trip and crack your head wide open. So instead of doing that, those releases, that transparent, those conversations, to feel like you're not alone, to have that friend say, it's going to be all right. Because we're always, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And we say that to cover everything up.
We do. I go straight to the I'm fine.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm cool. I'm cool. Yeah. But it's just like, you know when someone's not, but at the end, it's just so fine to say, I'm fine. I'll deal with this. I'll handle it. I gotta be Superman. I gotta, and I've been learning how to not do that. And I think it's inherently it's making me become stronger. So the superpower came from the thing that I was trying to hide. The thing that I thought gave me power was weakening me. And now that vulnerability, and it's just a vulnerability, and it's nothing crazy. It's just be honest with yourself and be honest to a point with others. Like, this is just what it is, man. This is, yes, I'm doing a great job with the boys, but it's a job, and I have to show up to work every day and work as hard as possible just to make sure I don't burn the rice-a-roni. It's minute by minute, hour by hour.
Talking on the back end.
Yeah. Oh man,
get those chef skills up. You can't
it's the little things too. Like, my son looked at me like, I burnt fish sticks in the air fryer, and I'm looking at the air fryer like it's his fault. Like, these are fish sticks? They're already cooked. I'm just heating them up. And then my son, how you burn fish sticks in the air fryer? I'm like, I pay for your health insurance. I can just take that away, and let's see what happens once you get cut. No, it's it is what it is though. But everything is now. I can honestly say that I'm fine now. With this new path and new road, and the community that I have, whether it be Facebook community, Instagram, visual community, work community, my new PEP family, the people that's on here now, we are one big community, because the only way we're going to get through any of this crap is together. It is crap. We are going to get through it. It just has to be together. That's the only way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I definitely thank you, Eric, for all your transparency and your words of wisdom that you gave us tonight. Please, everybody, take a look at what Eric's doing. I'm sure your page is very public,
Yeah.
so definitely take a look at what Eric is doing. His Facebook name, I'm sure, is just Eric Powell.
Yes.
Look him up and see what he's got going on. He's got all these amazing crafts that he's selling, his clothing line, his book, right? So
Hey,
definitely
great.
definitely tune in and continue Facebook to engage us, and YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn to engage us, and definitely help us to continue this mission and vision that we have here for Parents Engaging Parents. Please donate. You can find our information and hit the donate button on pepnj.org, and to keep this nice like tonight and the information that we had to share here with you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Daphne Coop said, thank you for sharing your vision. Cardona Aguilera. Oh, Leonard Wheeler said, good evening, good people. And Cardona Aguilera, you had one question and you asked to explain the steps in publishing a book. Ooh, how about we come back on that note? We're gonna hold on to that question, Cardona Aguilera, and we're gonna have somebody to engage us on how we can go about finding out those steps on publishing a book.
Yeah.
She says thank you. Okay. So thanks everybody for tuning in to Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community Check-in. We'll be back with you next Wednesday, definitely between 6:30 and 7:30. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Eric.
No problem. Thank you. Have a great night.